Hello, we are again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are trying to understand and explore his disillusionist philosophy. And in previous videos, he has explained to us how suffering drives the vast majority of human behavior. We are going to focus now in one particular strange kind of suffering, which is boredom. And we will ask Mookie to define boredom from a disillusionist, nostalgic point of view for us.
Well, boredom is a very unusual kind of suffering. In fact, when we are talking about fear, we're talking about suffering. We're suffering now about something that will happen in the future, may or may not happen. When we have guilt, it's now about something that happened in the past. Boredom is fully in the present, unless you have fear of boredom. I will talk about it a little bit later. But basically, boredom has something very unusual. Once you have solved all your suffering or postponed them on an enough basis that they are not immediate, that they don't take up your attention, a new kind of suffering, a very specific kind of suffering appears, and it's called boredom. Boredom basically is the absence of suffering. Now, that doesn't make any sense. How is it that when you suffer, and when you don't suffer, you suffer again? The answer is the box of tissues. Yes, remember, we take one tissue, then comes another one and another one. And the answer is that even if you have solved all your sufferings, everybody loves you, and you have eaten all your food you wanted, and you drink all the food you wanted, and you are the weight you wanted to be, and everything is perfect, and everybody admires you. Now you get bored. Boredom ensures that there is no time without suffering while you are awake, while you are not inertially moving or sleeping. One of the things that one of the examples I show when there is no suffering is sleeping. When I sleep, I don't suffer. But that means I am also not bored. We should be bored when we're sleeping. Do you understand? We're staying there like this 7 hours and do nothing. Should be terribly boring, and it's not. Because boredom has to happen when you are awake. When there is no intention and there should be intention, you are bored. I always tell there's a little anecdote that when I was a child, I was so bored, that I took a battery, a 9-volt battery that has both plus and minus on the same side, and I would put it on my lip and I'd get a small electric shock. Not a pleasant one. In fact, a little bit of pain. I would do it again and again and again and again. I was trying to, look, very interesting, distract myself from boredom by using pain. So much it bothers me, so much I am suffering that I'm ready to feel pain just not to suffer. But that's you remember we spoke about it, the matrix of the sacrifice matters, in which we sacrifice, we take one pain or one kind of suffering, so we don't get another one, okay? And so I prefer to carry with me 2 books with me to the plane that are very heavy, but instead of that, I will not be bored in the plane. Now, careful, because most of the time, what we are doing is we are afraid of being bored. Again, like always, fear is the most common of the suffering, even when talking about boredom. So now you're taking to the plane, not only 2 books, maybe we should take 3. You know something? And not only 3 books, I'll take a movie with me, in my iPad, or maybe I should take more movies. Yeah, and maybe I should take, when I don't want to read, maybe there is some pictures I could look at. I mean, and then I'm carrying a lot of things, which probably I will use 5% of it, if I don't get stuck, because there is a TV on the planes also. I mean, I'm talking about international flights, yes, intercontinental flights of 10, 12 hours flight that are very tiring. And the longer the flight, the more you think you're going to get bored. Yes? So boredom has this is an unusual feeling, but it creates a sandwich with 3 pieces of bread instead of 2. You see, on one hand, we're running away from suffering. Once we solve suffering, boredom comes in, and it becomes the other part. And all this while we are waiting to die. So there is 3 the sandwich has really three pieces of bread, and wherever you want to run, you're always inside of that loop. So it's really and of course animals never get bored, ever. Animals don't feel guilt, and animals don't get bored. Why? Because boredom needs intention, needs the lack of intention. They don't have a lack of intention because they don't have intention, because they're a computer. The computer, they are running a program. Program has no intention. The intention was, there is no intention even in their own program. I guess this is a good description.
It is.
I hope so.
What do you think is happening to boredom now during the COVID-19 pandemic that we are experiencing?
I would say this is really surprising. If you ask me, one of the great surprises of this pandemic is people not get bored. They should be bored. They should be bored to death. They stay in their home. They cannot move, and they should be bored, but they are not. And they are not because to be bored, no other suffering should be out there. And you are afraid of getting sick. All the time, televisions all over the world and the news are how many people die, how many people are sick, how many days. Every 15 minutes comes a new vaccine, yes, a new vaccine, no. Then there is a treatment day. You have no time to be bored because you are dealing with suffering. And I'm not talking about the unemployment that is waiting for us, the terrible economic hardship that are coming out of the pandemic. Now you stay here and you are afraid. You don't know. You are at your home. You don't know if your job is there, is not there, how much your job is there. You don't even see your boss. I mean, you have no control. Those are, I think, all this will not allow you to be bored. I would say these are the least boring times we had for a long, long time.
What do you think will happen afterwards when the pandemic recedes, if it does recede?
I don't think there will be a lot of people who will not, again, who will be in a lot of economic pain. Let's not forget emotional pain. I mean, if we're talking about 500,000 people dead, so there's their families who will be missing them. There is a lot of that too. And then people who will be looking for a job, will not have time to be bored. They will be worried sick. But a certain part of the people will go back and they will continue to be bored when they will have to listen to their mother-in-law telling her when she was young, yes, and all these things that made boredom part of our day. Again, I'm going to take a plane in a few days. I'm going to take probably a transatlantic flight, and I'm worried I'm going to be bored because how am I going to sleep with a face mask, that sits like this and glasses, so I will not get sick in the plane and fly 12 hours? I mean, I'm going to get bored. I mean, really bored. But beyond that, I think boredom has to do with lack of suffering, and I think lack of perceived suffering, yes, or of immediate suffering. But I think this is what's coming is not going to be as how can I say, as conductive to boredom as the life we had, which was quite boring, I have to say. In a way.
Very well. We shall see. Thank you very much. We'll carry on.
You're welcome.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.